Sneezes normally come in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of Full Press Radio. This is February the 8th, 2021. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
Stevie Nick, another happy Monday in the Stevie Nick household. How are you, Carl?
Doing well. Wrapped up the NFL season yesterday. Did you happen to watch the big game?
Until I fell asleep. What a snooze fest.
It was rough. The game was what it was. What did you have for snacks?
I made myself chicken wings with homemade buffalo sauce. I'd never done that before.
Nice. I also made wings, but I did salt and pepper wings, and then for every one of them, I had the bottle of Frank's with me, and I would just pour some Frank's on there.
I've done that before.
It's become my go. Even when I would go to restaurants, I'd usually get one order of salt and pepper with a side of hot sauce, and then an order of honey garlic. That's my go-to wing order. Back when restaurants were a thing you could do.
I miss it. I miss going for chicken wings. It's probably my most missed meal.
Definitely, especially I had a routine Thursday night football wings standing date that didn't happen this year, so it was sad.
So sad. But let me tell you, I'm not a big football guy. I watch about 4 football games a year. The first 3 games of the Lions season, and then the Super Bowl.
Right.
And normally I tune in for the Super Bowl, and it's a good game. It's exciting. And my attention's held. I enjoy watching football. And last night was it was rough, man. It was a tough one to get through.
Yeah. Did you at least make it to the halftime show?
I did. I watched the whole halftime show. What did you think?
The last on field thing, that was cool. I liked what they did there, but the rest of it was just kind of, I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed. And I know that in the middle of a pandemic, there's only so much you can do. And I liked their creative of just we're going to have everyone dance on the entire field. And I stood in amazement. I sat in amazement. It wasn't standing for the halftime show. I sat on my butt the entire game. But I sat there very impressed because I'm not a dancer. This may surprise you. But just watching them do their thing and then still be able to end up in those lines, I was impressed. That I enjoyed. The rest of it was, it was fine. Turns out I'm just not a huge fan of The Weeknd, though, too.
I didn't realize he was still relevant.
Yeah, he's still putting out stuff.
I found out yesterday morning that he was the one doing the halftime show. And I was like, I guess he's still around. And then I was reading about it after, and everyone was talking about how great the last album was. And you know what I did this morning? I listened to his latest album. This is how the marketing works.
And is it as good as advertised?
It was good.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who doesn't really listen to him or his kind of music. I thought it was interesting. I liked it. So it was cool. And, it gave us a new meme, and we were in desperate need of a new meme.
It's true. And I think on a Monday morning after a mediocre at best, a bad Super Bowl, the confused Weeknd meme is exactly what we all needed this morning.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm very happy that it exists. So if that halftime show gave us nothing else, at least it gave us that.
So, it came not even a day late. It came hours late. But the NHL had its own confusing situation yesterday. We were both tuned in yesterday afternoon to the Carolina Hurricanes Columbus Bluejackets game, which saw a goal review. Columbus challenged a goal for offside. The goal was upheld. Columbus was given the minor penalty for delay of game. And then the game continued. Intermission happened. They came back from intermission. The refs went over to Torres and said, "Hey, we made a mistake. You were right. That goal was offside. We looked at a different angle, and that goal was offside. So we're going to take the penalty away. You're no longer on the penalty kill, but the goal still stands. And we all prematurely used the confused weekend meme. What in the world was going on there?
I have no idea. And the statement the NHL put out too was just like, yeah, whoops. There was a miscommunication. Sorry.
And just like the reasoning was, well, there's no precedent for it. Like, yeah, because we don't make those mistakes. Did you see the actual reason of why it happened?
There was some sort of like mixed up footage that the broadcast team was sending to the linesman, was getting from the NHL's situation room. I didn't really understand what was happening.
So what happened was apparently the video review person in the box was a trainee, as it was described. And
oh no.
And that person was a little gung-ho, and they were saying on mic that it was a good goal. Whereas the people in Toronto who are sending the footage didn't get to the point where like the actual angle that showed that he was offside could happen. And so he just said a couple times, good goal. And so the refs just assumed that that was from the people in Toronto saying that. And so they went with it and decided it was a good goal.
So it was a miscommunication.
A big someone whose job it isn't decided to pipe up and give their opinion, and it really backfired.
So here's what I don't understand didn't happen. Like why didn't they go to the Blue Jackets, to both teams in intermission and say, look guys, we screwed up. We're going to roll the clock back a minute and a half or 2 minutes or however much time was left. We're taking the goal back. Let's go out, finish the period, and then we'll clean the ice and we'll come back out for the third.
You don't even need to clean the ice. Like I mean, I have seen in several situations, granted, I mean, an injury, right? A bad injury happens. They leave the ice, they come back and they play a chunk of it. They blow the horn, take a commercial, and then come back again. Right?
Yeah.
Happens all the time. Not all the time, but that has a precedent for it, right?
Yeah. So why didn't I can't figure out why they didn't do that, because it's not like there's anything that happened after that goal that would also have to be rolled back.
It was a minute 15 of play, a minute 15, especially of a power play, right? Like a power play that should not have existed, and you've wiped that off the board, but you're going to leave that goal on. And granted, sure, one of the goals was scored with an empty net at the end of it, but like it was a 1-goal game and you made that mistake.
Yeah. Columbus was right in that game. It's really, really bad. And now, like, you know, people are saying, rightfully so, what happens at the end of the season if Columbus misses the playoffs by a point?
Yeah. Especially if it's with Carolina taking that spot.
Yeah. Right. Like the situation could get worse down the line.
Yes. The consequences in one game seem small until they're not.
Especially in a shortened season like this.
Yeah.
Like these are big mistakes. I didn't see the media availability after. I'm assuming because I didn't see it, it means John Tortorella did not say anything.
John Tortorella did. He was shockingly calm with the situation, but it was unreal. It was, I mean, sure, they say unprecedented, and it definitely was. Like, I can't think of another time where I've seen something like that. But now that they have it, maybe they can just put that rule in. Hey, if we make that mistake, the goal comes off the board. Easy.
Yeah. It's embarrassing for the league, if I'm being honest. It's just embarrassing.
I didn't know that would be the start of a terrible day of sports officiating. and yet here we are the next day. And that was still the worst thing that happened yesterday.
Oh, easily. I can't even believe that was yesterday. That feels like so long ago.
It was, We went through a lot this year, this weekend,
and yesterday.
Exactly. We all sat through that Super Bowl together. So
it was a very long game. Yeah. Anyways, just a bad showing all around. Did not need to happen.
Absolutely not in the slightest. All right. The NHL, since we were here last, 2 more teams have entered the COVID shutdown protocol, one of which being the Minnesota Wild, and then subsequently, right after, the team that they had just finished playing against, the Colorado Avalanche, which then led the NHL to have a widespread look and say, maybe we need to be better at this. Apparently, this is what it took. 3 teams being shut down wasn't enough. Vegas, Buffalo, New Jersey being shut down wasn't enough. Having 1/6 of their teams not playing was apparently enough for the NHL to step in and say, we need to take moderately swift action.
I think it's worse than publicly known right now. That's my theory. I think that I saw some things yesterday that speculated that the Flyers could be in some COVID trouble, which also means probably the Capitals and the Bruins. I think that they're in the middle of damage control in a situation that's already been lost. I mean, of course it's already been lost. They had to shut down 2 teams last week.
Yeah. And just today, I don't know if you saw as well, today extended the time off for Buffalo, New Jersey, and Minnesota. They are also all shut down. 7 more games canceled for those teams combined. So still those teams are not ready to return to the ice.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about around this topic because so much happened this week. But like, how do you feel now about this season wrapping up before the Olympics?
There's no chance that every team plays 56 games this year. There's no way,
right?
It's impossible at this point for that to happen.
It's and you know what's crazy is it started before the season even started. They had to delay the Dallas Stars season opener. Before the first day of the season, they were having issues with COVID.
Yeah. Before it even got underway, we had problems. Then immediately had problems after that. And it does seem, I mean, what's interesting here is we've seen, I mean, the NHL will not in any way. Look, they've denied concussions. They're absolutely going to be denying COVID transmission on the ice.
Come on, though. Like, it's happening. And I know that now they're going to start running all these tests to determine what variant the Kings have versus what variant the Wild have. And that's how they're going to know if there's on-ice transmission or not. But guys, come on. A player on one team has it, plays a game. A player on the other team has it a few days later. Like, we don't need to be sending blood samples to fancy labs. I can tell you right now it's happening. Look at the way they sit beside each other on the bench. Hockey is the kind of sport you can't physically distance from other people in.
It's with the bench there, it's impossible. So some of the changes they made this week, they're now taking out the glass from behind the bench. Turns out when there's no fans, you don't need glass back there to protect yourself or to protect the fans. But that's not going to help. Like, I mean, it might a little bit, but the fact that you are sitting there and you've got like your water bottle that you just drank out of and you just like slam it down next to the other guys, which is like an inch or less apart. You are literally shoulder to shoulder next to a guy that you just were out there working hard for a minute shift and you're heavy breathing on the bench. The benches is a problem. They're trying to find ways to get extra dressing rooms in these arenas that have already had I mean, you share an arena with someone. For example, I know here in Calgary, the Flames are sharing the arena with their AHL team. Stockton Heat are coming up. And that's happening in several places. They're going to be sharing the arena. There was not even enough space for the Calgary Hitmen to play there. They're going and playing in another arena in the city because they don't have enough time, space for 3 teams. And now the NHL is saying you need to find extra space in this arena. Now, I'm sure we could get the home team to change in the cars like they're playing midget, but like, is that what we're doing here? Here's your jersey, go get on the ice, because there's no way that there's going to be enough space for these to happen. And the fact that the NHL is like, hey, just explore the idea, see what you can do, see if you can find an extra room in the arena is ridiculous.
It's avoiding the obvious. Like, you can put these players in different, every player gets his own suite on the suite level of the arena to get changed in. The second they get onto the bench beside each other, the second they go onto the ice and they go forehead to forehead to take a face off, or they crush each other into the boards and there's 3 guys holding the puck against the boards with their skate, or they're crashing the goalie, that is where it's happening.
It's not happening in the Capitals hotel room.
No.
Well, and so to me, the only solution is better testing for this league.
Better and faster. Well, maybe that's what you meant by better.
That is what I meant by better, yes. Because right now, you get tested and it gets sent to one location. Every test in the NHL gets sent to New Jersey for results. So that's why when you are the Columbus Bluejackets and Carolina Hurricanes, or even earlier that day, at noon Eastern time, when you show up at the arena, get a test, and then play a game at noon, you are not having those test results back. There is no chance. So absolutely, you're going to go sit on that bench. You're going to go play that game. And then later that day, you would find out you tested positive after having how many interactions?
That's it. And we all know how easily this thing spreads. If you're going out there and you're contagious, it gonna spread.
Yeah.
But you're right. They gotta find a way to test faster. You're never gonna get through the season with 0 cases. Nobody ever expected that. They just gotta do a better job of controlling it. And why are they not looking at their colleagues in other professional sports leagues to see what they are doing for testing?
I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs are testing, like rapid testing media when they walk in the door. The media at games are getting tested better than players that are actually on the ice. You're not going to get through the season if you keep that up. And
No.
the players have especially the players, but also fans, have every right to be furious about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. But you say that about the Leafs, and it just reminded me, still nothing in the Canadian division, right?
Not a single. I mean, there have been I saw the numbers on the weekend. 3 of the 4 teams have had players on the COVID protocol list, which does not mean they tested positive, but doesn't mean they didn't. Every team except for 1 in the other 3 divisions has had a player on the COVID protocol list. And 7 now have had games postponed?
Does Pierre-Luc Dubois count as being on the COVID protocol list?
It's an interesting question. I would
think so, no?
I would think so. Again, because it's a protocol, not like you have COVID. So
Yeah. Anyways,
nonetheless,
it's interesting. It's gonna be a long season.
And a lot of this until we start getting something better from the league.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long, short season.
Putting HEPA filters on the bench and having players dress in suites is not gonna be it.
Who's the first coaches that's gonna keel over backwards though without the glass there?
It's gonna be good.
Probably Trotz, right?
Yeah, I would think so. That didn't even cross my mind. That first coach that gets real upset and goes to lean back, Jared Bednar leans against the glass a lot, so I could see him doing it.
Maybe it's him, or like they go to dodge the pucks that's coming up over the over the bench.
Maybe we should put a half glass up there.
Maybe There's some cool pictures that surfaced though from back in the day of like Pat Burns and all those guys coaching, and there used to be no glass there. It was just fans.
Yeah. A really interesting scenario when you think back to that era.
Isn't that wild? Imagine that now with like smartphones and Twitter.
I mean, the amount of people, there's enough people who like wave at the cameras now. You have like so many selfies. You're in the middle of it, and like people would get hit all the time. People don't have, the general average person does not have an idea of boundaries.
Oh yeah.
Torts would hit so many people.
Totally.
You know, let's just leave the glass down.
They wouldn't need those screens at their feet anymore, though, because they could just turn to the buddy behind them and check out the GIF.
It's true. Just watch it. Hey, what do you think? Just pull the crowd.
Oh, it's funny.
Well, there we go. We'll see what happens as more things come out. But speaking of that trade and the quarantine, Patrik Laine made his debut this week, and he is looking real good as a Columbus Blue Jacket.
Yeah. Hey, what the heck, by the way? Did he have a shorter quarantine period?
I think there is a shorter quarantine to go from
in the US?
Canada to the US than the US to Canada, yeah.
Because he's got 3 games in already. 3 goals, 3 games. Only 1 power play goal. And Pierre-Luc Dubois still quarantining.
Yeah, he has shown up at practice though, so he'll be in there for the next Jets game, which, if my schedule tells me the truth, is probably tomorrow. It is tomorrow in Calgary against the Flames.
Well, there you go. So you watched this whole Columbus Carolina game yesterday because it was on Sportsnet, right?
I did. Yep.
What was your impression? How did Laine look?
I mean, both of his goals yesterday were at like just hard one-timers from the left dot. One of them was higher, but like that left circle, right?
It's a spot.
So it's his spot, and it works, and he's very good at it. But one of them was, so you said 1 power play goal, another one with an empty net, so like also a man advantage. So it gives that opportunity for him to be able to get there. It's been interesting. So they've been playing him with Atkinson and Roslovic, who came over in that trade as well.
Yeah.
And they've looked well. Like they've definitely looked good. I'll be interested to see though, like what kinds of chances he can generate even strength. Because I mean, we know what he can do with the man advantage. We know what he can do there. But seeing those other pieces are kind of what I'll be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the question with Laine, right? Like, he's a big power play guy. A lot of his goals in his career have come on the power play.
What, 34%?
30, is it 30? Did you just do that off the top of your head?
I did it a little bit ago because mostly because I'm really enjoying this deep dive that I do almost every Oilers game because I'm curious. Everyone of that trade went down and they criticized Patrik Laine because so many of his points come on the power play. He can't actually be good. All of his points come on the power play. So then I thought to myself, I wonder what Leon Draisaitl is pulling for those kinds of numbers. And it's dropped below 40% on the season, but Leon Draisaitl has 39% of his points right now come on the power play, a similarly higher than Laine number for him last year. So, I mean, Draisaitl is following in the Laine footsteps of just get all your points on the power play, which is when he gets to play with McDavid. So, of course, that's when he's going to get most of his points.
100%. They're mostly all apples too, aren't they? Didn't he get like 5 assists in 1 game earlier in the season?
He did. Yeah. I think I believe at least 2 of those were on the power play.
Okay.
But it was against the Senators who they're playing tonight. So we'll see as the day goes.
Oh man,
goes along. It is scoreless in the second period though. So who even knows what's happening? Matt Murray
for the Senators.
Matt Murray's showing up.
There you go. And on the flip side, how are the Canucks doing?
The Canucks are currently down 1-0, and that's the game that I currently have on the television.
Do you think the Canucks looked at the Senators and were like, we could do worse than that?
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Watch how I can dive to the bottom.
Now, interesting set of scenarios here. Canucks, I mean, as someone, Nicholas, who was a big look, we sat here at the start of the year and you were what?
Don't call me Nicholas. My mom calls me Nicholas.
Well, I'm equally as disappointed with you right now.
Oh, whoa. Wowza.
Because we sat here at the start of the year and you fought hard to put the Canucks over the Jets. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was very high horsey about it too. I remember that conversation very well.
Yeah, me as well. And now the Jets are doing well. I'm not going to sit here and say guaranteed bona fide playoff team, but doing well enough. The Canucks are not.
Yeah, I have to eat those words. That was a bad, bold prediction. Very bad. Now, I don't think the Canucks are as bad as they've been playing for the last 2 weeks. But they do not look good. Like this team, I don't watch the Canucks very often because they're on the West Coast. And I go to bed early, but watching them last week was like, do these guys even care about playing hockey right now at all? They weren't even trying.
Well, they did come out in the first period of this game trying 13 shots on net, holding the Leafs to only 4, currently outshooting them 17-5, still losing the game.
Just like awful. And like, it's Frederik Andersen. Like he shouldn't be one who stumps you.
But they got Braden Holtby in the other net.
That's true. Did you see the looks Holtby was given the bench last game on Saturday?
Well, he had some comments afterwards. Did you see?
Oh, I didn't see the comments. The looks were daggers. I'm excited to hear this.
Let me I'll try to find them here.
He was he could not believe that some of those Leafs players were getting in so close to him. And then he like couldn't believe that they were scoring on him. So every goal he'd lift his helmet, he'd shake his head, and he'd look at the bench. Like, what are you guys doing out here?
Yeah. And maybe it was from somewhere else. I was reading some comments from him earlier, and it's not happy. But all that to say, I wonder how his turtles are doing. Like, at least he has those.
Was it worth it, Braden? Was it worth putting all the work in to get your tortoises across the border?
No, probably not at this point. So we've got that situation, right? The Canucks are terrible. Well, like, what is it specifically about them that you thought, other than like just the general lack of effort and letting everyone, like, is that because offensively they're not really doing it either?
Yeah, no, and they need guys like Pettersson to get going. Like, this guy's supposed to be their elite goal scorer, and he has currently 4 goals in 15 games. He's got to do better than that. Tyler Mott has more goals than him.
Yeah. Not what you're looking for. And Grant, so like, while I say that they're not doing it offensively, right? They are looking at like even strength goals. They're leading the league in even strength goals this year.
Yeah, it's because they're not scoring on the power play.
But they're not. They've got nothing going for them on the power play, and they have given up not even just like the most, like taking the most penalties and given the most power play chances against, but like substantially more. They've given up 65 power play opportunities, and next is 54 below them. So like they're like 10% more than anyone else.
That's bad. Like that, they have to. You're not going to win in this league, but especially in that division, unless you can take advantage of those man advantage opportunities.
Absolutely.
The opposing teams are going to be too good. Like when you're facing the Leafs and the Oilers and the Flames and the Jets, feels like every other night, like you have to jump on them when they're down a man.
Yeah. And you can't be letting that Leafs power play get out there and do their thing. You can't be letting the Draisaitl McDavid power play get out there and do their thing. It's not going to work.
No, you have to shut that down. Now, they're not getting any favors from their goalies either. Like Holtby can give all the daggers he wants to the bench, but like he's rocking an 888 save percentage right now. Both of their goalies are sub 900.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that needs to be improved with this team. I don't know, man. Like part of me is like, this is just a bad stretch of games to start the season. But if that's the case, they got to find a way to lift themselves out of it soon.
Is that way? I mean, it seems it's the easy fix. It's the easy solution to this attempted solution. How long does Travis Green last if this continues?
I don't know. The coaching stuff's so hard to decide on a short season like this, right? Like we had this conversation about Jeff Blashill, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? What are you going to do? Fire him now and then interim it for the rest of the season? Are you going to go find another long-term coach and have them coach the rest of this weird COVID season?
I would say that this is a different, like the Canucks is a different scenario than the Wings though, because the Wings, unless you find the coach that you want for the future, go and get that guy now. But the Canucks are supposed to be a playoff team. And sure, right now they're sitting, within reach of a playoff spot for sure, mostly because there's only 7 teams and 4 of them make it in. So they're sitting 5th in that division. Distances right now are not relevant, but
yeah.
So like, sure, they're 1 spot back, but this is not the way that they are playing is not going to get them into the playoffs.
No.
And you need to, I think this is a situation where you have to have a pretty quick trigger. If you think that this team that you've put together, and we know that one of Jim Benning or Travis Green are getting fired before this year is done, if not both. But like, if Jim Benning is the one allowed to make that decision still for some reason, he's got to. He's like, look, I put this team together. Either he trusts this team and thinks that Green's doing a bad job coaching it, or he thinks he did a bad job putting it together. And if so, he should be fired.
He should fire himself.
He should. Some call it resigning. Some call it firing yourself.
Canadian hockey media would definitely call it firing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong, Carl. And again, it has to happen soon before it gets out of hand. And the coaching, making a decision on your coach could be a wake-up call for the players as well. But
tonight their season passes over 1/4 of the way done. You can't throw away a quarter of a season and hope to make, and then another quarter? You get halfway through and you think, all right, now we're going to do this. This isn't the St. Louis Blues that can be out of dead last in the league at Christmas and then bring in Craig Berube and win the Stanley Cup. This is not that. This does not have that talent on the roster that is necessary, because Jim Benning has at various points done a terrible job putting this team together. So there's not that depth that they could or should have. There are some incredibly talented players on this team, but
it strikes me as more of a Columbus style team, right? Gotta get everyone working together, grind it out, and they can maybe get somewhere.
But with they have the Pedersen that Columbus doesn't have.
Well, they have a Laine now.
I would not compare those two.
No?
I mean,
They
I
both
guess
got
you just
that big
did.
shot.
I was going to ask you, like, would you? Yeah, you did. You just did. They have a big shot, but like skill wise, Pedersen's definitely better.
Yeah, I think I agree.
He just scored. Look at that.
Oh, my feed's behind.
Spoilers. Pedersen scored.
Look at him listening to us. He's got to get going. There he goes. He gets going.
Brock Besser with the steal. Gives it to...
Oh, I just watched it. Wow, what a shot. A power play goal.
It's like they listened to us right now. Like we said, 1, got to score on Freddie Anderson. 2, got to do things on the power play. And 3, Pedersen's got to be better. And all of it happened. There we go. Travis Green, your job is safe. Congratulations. Let's take a break. We'll be back on the other side with the Elimination Station and Nick's Lidstrom.
Elimination Station.
All right, it is time for the Elimination Station, where we eliminate a team from the playoffs. Last week, we eliminated, apparently a word that I struggle to say today, eliminated Nick's Detroit Red Wings from the playoffs.
Well deserved.
And they won this week. Bulletin board material.
They did win this week. They were on an 8-game losing streak.
Well, congratulations. You did it. So is there a team this week that you are looking at as the next team in the Elimination Station?
So I think the Eastern Division is still a little too close to call. I don't really want to get into that space yet. It's a little muddy for me. So I'm kind of thinking we go out west, which, we before the season started, we talked a lot about those California teams and how bad they're going to be. Anaheim's looking pretty good in contrast to what we said.
Anaheim's definitely not as bad as we had forecasted. The Kings, however, are.
That's where I'm going this week for the Elimination Station. What say you?
I say yes. That was also where I wanted to go for the Elimination Station. So welcome to the Elimination Station, Los Angeles. And this is, so as we sat here at the end of the year or before the season and said, like, the Ducks are a couple years behind where the Kings were. That was kind of our thought process on this.
Yes.
And I think what we've got is a situation where the Ducks players that have made this roster already are just better than what the Kings have had from their young players that are on this roster. So that's how you kickstart it, right? Get more out of those young players coming in. You've also got John Gibson, which helps a lot.
Yeah, John Gibson's done much better than he did last year. But you talk about the Kings' young players not going. The top 4 point producers on their team are all over the age of 24. Actually, if you look at the top 6 point producers on their team, the average age is over 30.
Well, 4 of their top 6 are over 30.
Yes.
You've got 36-year-old Dustin Brown, 36-year-old Jeff Carter, Anze Kopitar, 33, should still be doing it. Drew Doughty, 31, should still be doing it. You're paying those 2 specifically to lead this team, and they are. This is not on them. The rest of that roster, Adrian Kempe coming into a pretty nice little player.
Sure.
But the rest?
There's not much depth there, is there?
No. Now, and granted, a lot of their young talent has not seen the ice as of yet. Right? The Quentin Byfield sighting? Not a thing.
Well, you're not
Quentin
gonna
Byfield sighting.
you're not gonna throw Quentin Byfield into this, though, are you?
Not now.
No, not this year.
I would have liked to see him get like a game or two. Give him something.
Maybe we will later in the season.
I mean, I guess it really depends on what happens with junior hockey in Canada this year.
True.
Right?
Also true.
If he needs, let's get him some sort of play where he's right, be able to get that. But
yeah, I never really expected to see him. But go ahead.
Did you see the report that the NHL might skip this year's draft entirely?
I did see that they would double it up next year.
I would be super upset if I was a prospect right now.
Like, what does that say about the prospect pool this year?
Right? Like,
well, if Connor McDavid was being drafted this year, they'd be having a draft.
Yeah.
Who's even projected to go first? I don't know anyone's names for this year's draft.
Well, because we haven't had junior hockey for the last while.
Yeah.
We haven't had, we've had international hockey, but not a lot of it.
It would be pretty bad. You know what they should do instead? Skip the award ceremony.
Yes, let's do that. If I want to see John Hamm, I'll just watch CTV and watch all those skip the dishes commercials. That's fine.
So many of them.
All right. So if you're the Los Angeles Kings, what are you doing? How are we fixing this? How are we getting them back into the playoffs?
I think they have to make a bit of a move here. They need to make a move for a big energy guy, like someone who's loud and noisy, who stands out on the ice. Maybe doesn't score a ton of points, but who can motivate his teammates.
Okay. Is there, like, if you could, it sounds like you have someone in mind.
I'm trying to think of somebody who kind of fits that mold that I'm trying to figure out, but you need someone
like the first guy that comes to my mind is like Ryan Reeves.
Yes, absolutely.
Team loves him, gets him fired up, certainly not producing. Possibly hurts them in the long run.
Absolutely. That's a good example. Or maybe like a Tom Wilson.
Yeah, like a contributing version of Ryan Reeves.
Yes. I think that would help a lot, especially with the young guys on the roster. Someone who the losing maybe rolls off a little easier and they can have some fun and they're always giving it their all on the ice.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Him and Drew Doughty on the same team? That'll sell tickets.
It's like fight night every day at practice.
Let's get some of that in there.
That's good. Either of the Tkachuk brothers could do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I don't think that's only what this team needs, but I think it would help them in the short term.
Okay. So in the short term, we got that. And in the long term, just keep riding it out.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to ride it out for much longer. They really only have a year or two on most of their contracts. The Drew Doughty one's going to hurt.
But we knew what that Drew Doughty deal was when he signed it.
Yeah. We knew it was going to hurt at the end of it.
Right. Jonathan Quick still has 2 years left somehow. Yeah,
I think they're going to just sit on that one for as long as they can until the buyout doesn't hurt as much. And Kopitar, you just deal with Kopitar for the next 3 to 4 years.
I mean, I'm not even sure you're dealing with it. Is he worth 10? No, probably. If he was on another team, if he was on a team that had some people that could help him out, he would still be worth $10 million.
Yeah. I would agree. Like his contract's not the issue. I think like where they're going to need to show restraint is after next season. Hopefully then they don't have to show restraint, but after next season, let Dustin Brown go. Like that's just the end of that. Same with Jeff Carter.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, if they could find someone to take those off their hands for like any sort of asset back, that'd be great.
Do it.
Yeah. And this team for me, obviously they need to find the future goalie. They've added some good pieces offensively. Defense would be where I'd be looking. I hate drafting, especially drafting high like they will be. I hate drafting high based off of need, but if it comes down to a coin toss, defense is what they're needing.
Well, it depends on where they draft. If you're drafting 1 or 2, you take the best player. Actually, top 3, you take the best player. I think 4 and below, that's where you can. It hurts less to draft by need. Plus, then you have options that you're willing to explore too in terms of like trading down to get that defenseman or whatever it is. I would, if they're knowing how high they're going to be drafting, you just take the best player and you figure out the defenseman later.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. Well, there you go. Welcome to the Elimination Station, Los Angeles. You are in the basement of the West Division, and now you've been eliminated from the playoffs, which brings us then to Nick's Lidstrom.
I mean, what words can you use to describe 10-time first-team All-Star, 2-time second-team All-Star, 7 Norris trophies, Conn Smythe trophy, attention to detail, come to the rink every day, he was the best player in practice. Nick's no maintenance. It's about class.
Last week we looked at the Philadelphia Flyers and watched them blow so many leads.
Well, they blew 2 leads.
They only played 3 games.
They were up by, what, was it 3 goals against the Bruins in that first game?
Yeah, that first game was an ugly. Well, the Bruins, first off, the Bruins scored, 12 seconds into that first game?
Yeah, right off the top.
So they scored, Bruins scored, and then the Flyers came back, scored 3 in a row. They were up 3-1. Pasternak scored with 15 seconds left in the game, and then 30 seconds into overtime, Bergeron scores the winner.
Heartbreaker. But you last week you said I'm giddy to come here and gush about Carter Hart.
He looked okay.
Let's hear the gushing.
He looked.
I thought he looked fine.
Look, the 3 goals that the Bruins scored back to back on those, to end that game were all power play goals. I have a very hard time holding those against a goalie, right? Especially you give up a 4-on-3 power play goal. I don't really fault him for that one. He definitely looked better. So the next game they lost 2-1, and then the 7-4 shootout. They didn't blow that lead, thankfully, against the Capitals on Sunday. And he did not look great in that game. Luckily, the Capitals still do not have a competent goaltender, and so he didn't need to look great in that game.
The Flyers definitely seem to be the team this year that's like, let's just score more goals than our opponents.
Yeah.
Their games are all pretty high scoring.
Yeah. And some of them are situations like against Boston where like a game they should have won.
Yeah.
Which they didn't. And then some games where, you play 2 against the Islanders and both of those go to overtime and you win those somehow. So,
they're a good team though.
They're a good team. And I mean, like Boston currently, I think Boston's back atop that division now after those wins. Boston is second overall in the entire league. So, they lost to the best team in that division right now.
Yeah.
and they in 2 1-goal games, one where they got a point out of it. Sure, you wanted to get 4 points, but it's not a dire situation in Philadelphia.
No. I really enjoyed watching them. I watched that first game against Boston. I missed the second one, and I watched parts of the game against Washington. The group looks really good together. They look like they're in sync with one another. And especially guys like Voracek and Hayes, like veterans, they look at ease. Giroux's another one. Like you can tell when some players are playing with a weight on their shoulders. These guys don't look like they're playing with that weight. Yeah. They're just going, and they look really good.
What was interesting about the Capitals game was, they had the lead and the Capitals were pushing in, and then it doesn't take much for this team to get a rush and to be able to score. And we saw that in that game. And I think moving forward, we'll see more of that from them.
Yeah. I totally agree. They're fun to watch. They forecheck a lot. They put a lot of pressure on, and they create their own chances. They don't rely too much on luck. So This team will be a fun one to follow.
Absolutely. Where are you wanting us to follow then this week?
So this week, let me just pull up the Red Wings schedule. I still think it's a funny joke. I think we're going to the north this week, aren't we?
So we do not have a team in the north, which is shocking because a team in the north is currently the highest point haver in the entire NHL.
Is that the Toronto Maple Leafs?
That is the Maple Leafs of Toronto.
Let's just check to make sure they don't have a stretch like they did last week where they didn't play for 4 days. Oh, they're playing the Habs this week.
So they do only have 2 games for us to use for our bets this week, but we could also play it on the Monday. Why not play on the Monday? They're playing the Sens on Monday. Definitely take the over in that game. I say that while the other Sens game is scoreless still, I think. So what do I know?
The Sens will find their way again.
Well, it's 1-1 in that game. So
I like the idea of taking the Leafs because I'm really interested to see how these games against the Habs play out this week.
Are we going to see if Tyler Toffoli can score against a team that's not the Vancouver Canucks?
I don't know, but he's going to have to figure it out if he wants to stay atop the league leaders in goals.
It is. I mean, look, I came out pretty hard at the start of the year against the Habs and Tyler Toffoli. Like we, and especially me, very, very much poo-pooed their season.
Yes, you did.
And
well, we both did, but yeah.
Not on this show, but in other areas of my life, I have been eating a lot of crow for making fun of Habs fans for calling Tyler Toffoli good while I called him overrated. And then he went out and played the Canucks and scored 8 goals against his old team. So the question, like, you're not good if you can only do it against one team, though.
No, I think that another few weeks of games, we won't be talking about Tyler Toffoli anymore.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But hey, fantasy owners, sell high. If you haven't yet, and you can find a Habs fan in your league, find the Habs fan in your league and sell.
Yeah. Trade him. Because like we said in our preview episode, the Habs think they're better than they actually are.
And now that's even more true than before. We're doubling down. Are we doubling down?
I'm doubling down, yeah.
We're doubling down. The Habs they're still who we thought they were. Right?
Yes.
Nick's now not doubling. He's like,
yes, no, I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down that they think that they're better than they are.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. This week we'll be watching the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be seeing what is happening for them. I mean, got them on right now. We're seeing them getting outshot and outworked by the Vancouver Canucks. So this could be the beginning of the end for them.
Could be.
Can we talk about the schedules in the NHL real quick? I know that this is a thing. Look, I've got the games up for this week. And this is now the second time within a week that the NHL has a 6 o'clock Eastern time start. I believe both of them included the Flyers, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a 6 o'clock start this week? Weird.
Yes.
Is it it's not a holiday?
No.
I don't understand it. Maybe there's a conflict with a basketball team or something.
That they would be, but like, what would they're not going to play the same night.
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know what they are thinking.
The timings of games this year, in order for like the NHL to get their TV situations the way that they want them to, are awful.
I think it's going to get worse when they try to squeeze in all these COVID postponed games. They're just going to be like, whatever, forget the TV ratings. We got to get these games played, schedule them for 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever you have to do.
Very not looking forward to that.
It's just going to be, I think we're going to see a lot of weird things, especially later on the season when they have to fix all of these postponements.
Yeah, I'm with you. Also, okay, did we talk last week about NHL blackouts?
No.
So us as a show that follows the entire league, not just one team, we are subscribers to NHL Game Pass, and we've seen fans all across Canada complaining about blackouts in the middle of what I'm watching this game right now on cable. Remember how I was just telling you? I was ahead of you in that Canucks Leafs game. It now says on my television, sorry, due to regional restrictions, this event is not available in your area. I was just watching it.
So dumb.
They turned this game off on me in the middle of the game.
Do other leagues have this issue?
I know baseball has that issue. Like there is I believe it's in Ohio, that there is a section where you are blacked out from like their streaming service. You're blacked out from 5 teams.
That's so crazy. They got to figure out they got to figure out a way to break into the streaming world in an easy way.
Sportsnet owns, like, you're using Rogers NHL Live. Like, it's their service that you're paying for. Why am I blacked out? Just show your commercials. Sell your commercials that you sold on hockey. Sell them for cable and on there. I don't care about watching commercials on a streaming service. Hey, sure, it's upsetting that I would pay $100+ and still have commercials. I'd rather not. But I'd rather that than not be able to watch the game.
You know what I miss, though, speaking of commercials on the streaming service, is local commercials. Because it used to be if you're watching the Columbus feed, you get all the local Columbus commercials.
Yes.
Now they check your location via internet and they serve you ads from your home area.
I do miss watching Colorado Avalanche games and getting commercials for Flatiron Subaru.
Right?
I want to know what's happening. What kind of deals am I going to get on a Subaru in the Denver area? I don't know.
Now you're in the dark.
Yeah.
Now all you know is skip the dishes.
Right now, literally all I get is skip the dishes now. And I don't want skip the dishes. Because I saw you point out on Twitter yesterday. Don't use them. Just call the restaurant.
Yeah. All these like delivery services, the Uber Eats of the world, promoting to support local. Come on, guys. Your 30% cuts that you take from these local restaurants. Get out of here. I call the local restaurant directly.
I do have the apps installed, and I will use them to shop and be like, all right, what's out there? What could I get? And then I call the restaurant and place my order, or do it.
That is a good use of the app, Carl.
Yeah. So definitely, I would definitely support local.
Yeah.
But otherwise, call them. Helps them out. And they're very grateful.
They're so grateful.
If you want to have a very lovely conversation, that's the best phone interaction you'll probably ever have.
I've never been thanked so much by restaurant workers as when I started doing takeout during this pandemic.
Yes. At some points before, when you would do takeout, it felt like an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And now, you're the best person on the earth.
Yeah.
So do that. Anyways,
Do that.
You could do that. I mean, you could do that for the Leafs game on Wednesday against the Habs. You could do it for the Leafs game on Saturday against the Habs. Order some takeout, watch the hockey game. The game
Maybe get some chicken wings.
You could get some chicken wings from your local wing establishment. Nachos. That's what I had. I had nachos in the second half, wings in the first half. It was a good menu. Split those up. So for those Leafs games this week, we're going to be playing over, under, high-low sticking. Head on over to our Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast and tell us what you pick. Do you pick the over or the under for those games? We'll tell you what the lines are. We do not have the lines for those first games, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be 5.5. Yeah,
I would think so too.
We did it. We had a 6 on Sunday. The Flyers Caps game was a 6.0 over under. And I mean, there was 11 goals in the game. So
yeah, I hope a lot of people took the over.
Yeah, we did. I think there was only one under in that game that was picked. So good fun being had over there. And we'll be playing that as well. Head on over to our Twitter. You can head to thefourthlinepodcast.com. Speaking of the Canucks, we've got a new article up there. Alex Watson wrote great article today about the Canucks. You can read that over there. Find more of us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Full Press Radio app. Head on over to all those places. This is your first time listening. Thank you to staying all the way till the end. And make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss us next week. We will be back with another show just like we are every Monday, especially. Is it a day off for you next Monday?
Yeah, it's a holiday tomorrow, next week.
It might even be an earlier episode. Who even knows? But we'll be back next Monday, and we will be bringing you that. Till next time.
It's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Who even knows what an offside is? Review should just be done by Tortorella's kids.